Well, quite a number of things to wrap our heads around. While football fans are probably still trying to recover from that heartbreak, there's a lot still playing out in Rivers State. And we're not even talking about the national politics yet. Rivers politics alone deserves episodes and episodes on its own. So today, we're taking a look at one of the latest developments regarding the political impasse in Rivers State, South Nigeria. A judgment from a court in the state yesterday essentially changed the dynamics of things. But how far? What does this mean? Let's get legal interpretation to this one. We're joined on the program by a legal practitioner from Port Harcourt, the Rivers State capital, virtually, Mr. Worry. Good morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, my brother.
Well, you're a lawyer, so things like this maybe will not rattle you as much as it may rattle other people, because rather than seeing maybe the emotions and all of the undercurrents, you see the law, you see what the Constitution says. So help us understand at the basic level. We saw the Amawule group announcing they had defected from the PDP to the APC. We saw all of the usual, ceremony welcoming them. We saw how they have addressed themselves. We've seen how the APC speaks in their favor, saying our members, our lawmakers. But the court yesterday said, well, all of that announcing on TV and newspaper doesn't count. It is the membership register that really counts. Is this new to you? Does it change the outlook? How are you taking all of this in, particularly from the viewpoint of the law?
Okay. To begin with, you just said that you have seen on the screen the Amawule-led members of the Rivers State House of Assembly declared to the fact that they now have decamped to the APC. Now, those were one of the issues that was submitted to the court and upon which the court gave judgment. Now, the claimants in that suit have sought a declaration from the court to say that the 27-member assembly led by Amawule, having decamped, or if you like, having defected from the PDP to the All Progressive Congress, are no longer members of the PDP and so have lost their seats. Now, let me sound this to you. Let me shock you. The PDP, on whose platform Amawule-led members of the assembly were elected, was also in court and said, by their records, Amawule and co and the rest members are still members of PDP. Now, what did the court say? The court said that the valid means to identify who are members of a political party is the presentation of the party register and or membership card. The claimants in that suit were not able to produce either the APC membership register or membership card containing the names of Amawule, bearing in mind that the PDP, who also is a party to that suit, have said Amawule and co are still our members. So it's one thing to make an allegation. It's the other thing to establish the allegation that you are making. You are the very one who had gone to court, who had approached the court for certain declarations. So the onus is on you, particularly when the defendant have denied your claims. So I totally agree with the court on that score.
Then, so let's break it down, because this will also spill over into another judgment from a court in Rivers State, asking them not to parade themselves as lawmakers, restricting them. Does that affect that in any way? Because the concern here is we don't want to start seeing conflicting court judgments again after what we saw previously, and then the CJN had to wade in. So does that imply, does that vitiate rather that previous ruling of the court in Port Harcourt as well?
I thank God you have been able to correct yourself, because initially we had to say that there was an initial judgment restraining Amegbule and Co. from sitting and parading themselves as members of the Rivers State House of Assembly. There was no such judgment. Instead, there was an interim and then an interpretive order. An order is different from judgment. Judgment is usually given on the merits after hearing the parties. So there was an interlocutory order made by Honorable Justice C.N. Wale of the Rivers State High Court as against a judgment yesterday. Now, let me direct your mind to a very important aspect of this discourse. The Section 272, sub 3 of the 1999 Constitution as amended versus the power on the Federal High Court, the power to determine membership of a state and tenure and all of those manner of things on the Federal High Court and not the State High Court. The import of what that very section is that ab initio, the State High Court, particularly Honorable Justice C.N. Wale, did not have jurisdiction to even entertain that suit, let alone making the order that he made. Of course, that order, I'm sure you know, is subject of an appeal.
Mr. Warren, if I may butt in here, so
yes,
does Justice Bassam's court have the jurisdiction in this case? It's a State High Court. When they defected, and according to the law, defection has to be because there's a division according to 1091G as is stated in the Constitution, and by precedence of adjudication based on cases that have been established, it has to be at the national level. They cited a controversial position for their defection as now is a debatable conversation. First question, does the judge, Bassam himself, have the jurisdiction to entertain this particular case?
Okay, straight on. In my candid opinion, and based on the constitutional provision, section 272 sub 3, Honorable Justice Okobile Bassam, inclusive any other court of the Rivers State High Court, do not have jurisdiction to entertain, including the case of yesterday. That is my opinion. No wonder the judge was quick in his judgment to point out, even though those issues were never canvassed, the judge, so moto, on his own notes, noted it to say, based on our laws, including the constitutional provision, I do not have jurisdiction. In any event, just in the unlikely event that I am wrong, he proceeded to determine the substantive suits, particularly in circumstances where neither of the parties canvassed the issue of jurisdiction. And if you ask me, the court again was also right. You will recall, as far back as 1983, the Supreme Court of Nigeria in Adegoke Motors and Adesinya was quick to express the fact that, look, these courts are manned by human beings and they are prone to making mistakes. That's why the Supreme Court in that case that I just cited, stated, look, we're not final because we are infallible. But we are infallible because we are the final court of the land. The import of this statement is that all courts are prone to making mistakes. That's why the court, even though he did it so much, look, I do not think I have jurisdiction. Just in event that I am mistaken, let me proceed to the issues that were submitted by the parties to the court. That was what happened yesterday.
Everyone would have thought that the Honorable Justice maybe would have struck out the case, even if it wasn't canvassed in terms of jurisdiction, given the fact that adjudication of that particular substantive issue should have been at the Federal High Court. Don't you think so?
No, the court will not strike out the case. because the court does not have the power to raise an issue so moto. If a court does raise an issue so moto, it's incumbent on the court to call upon the parties so moto. The parties never canvass the issue of locus standi and abuse of process. It was the court, because the law is in the bosom of the court. It was the court who so moto raised it in the course of judgment. So there was no, so the court wouldn't have struck out or dismissed, properly so called, the suit at that time. Because if the court proceeds to strike out, I'm using your words, because the proper thing is to dismiss. Had the court proceeded so much to dismiss the suit based on an issue that were never canvassed by any of the parties, that is an applicable grant.
Well, still difficult to take in, particularly if the court is in full recognizance of the fact that the matter is not within its jurisdiction, but still it goes ahead to hear it. But let's look at another aspect of this, which is, what is often said, within the legal circles, that a court would only consider what is brought before it. And what the claimants here, that would be Amadi, Mr. Hyacinth Amadi and Datoye, that the court should declare the seats of the lawmakers vacant, having publicly defected and announced their defection. But rather, the court ruled on membership and not on defection, what the claimants were seeking. I wonder if this is some form of contradiction to you, and I'd like you to speak to it.
I do not think there is any contradiction. First, you can't talk about defection without talking about membership. Because when you are going to talk about defection, you are saying that, look, you have left the party that sponsored you to the position that you are as a lawmaker, to a new party. That is membership. And of course, you are going to prove that. You are going to prove that, like the court has rightly stated. You will show membership. First of all, you show that they had written to their former party, so to speak. And then you have their name in the register of members, or perhaps the membership card. So you could not divorce membership from defection. You cannot. There's no how you talk about defection that you will not talk about membership of an old party and the new party. There's no how.
Okay.
Are you not defecting from your membership of a particular party to a new party? So membership is intertwined with defection. You are defecting from your membership of a political party to a new political party. So the court couldn't have said, because the grounds upon which they were saying that Amewule and co had lost their seats is that they said they had left the PDP, who sponsored them, to a new party. And of course, the burden was squarely on them, which they failed to establish.
All right, that's difficult to contest, but isn't it interesting that the PDP sought to be joined in this suit, knowing full well that those lawmakers had announced their defection to the PDP, to the APC rather. So what would be the interest of the PDP that has sought to be joined in this matter?
Yes, I think the interest of the PDP in that matter is that Amewule and co were elected on their platform. And they had gone to court to say, by our record, we have not lost Amewule and co as members. Of course, every party would want to swell its membership. PDP would not be happy to lose 27 lawmakers. That is their interest. That's why they have come to court to say, we have not lost them. They are still our member.
Okay. So
that's their interest.
So maybe we'll go back to the beginning, or before the beginning. You said that the judge himself said, well, I don't have jurisdiction over this. So that's a foundation for all of this. And you have agreed as well. So are we not just raising dust over nothing? How justiciable is this anyway? Does it really change the optics of things? Because in law, they say you cannot build something on nothing. So the judge had said at the heart of this, I do not have jurisdiction. So is this justiciable? Is this a judgment that changes the optics of anything? Since the judge says, I do not have jurisdiction. It's just a suo motu pronouncement, as you said.
Again, let me restate what I said earlier. I had said here that the parties never canvassed the issue of the competence of that court to hear the matter. And so the matter proceeded to hearing and up until judgment. But while delivering its judgment, the court, so motu, said, look, I do not think I have jurisdiction to entertain. But in the unlikely event that I'm wrong, let me dwell on the substantive issues that were submitted before me, and then proceeded to give. What did the court say? The court said, look, based on the evidence before me, Amewule and co. are still members of the, particularly so.
No, my
when
question,
the PDP.
I know you've raised this point, but just so that we don't, because there's a lot happening already, and I imagine as a legal practitioner, as a resident, as someone who has the love of rivers at heart, you'd want all of this back and forth to be resolved for the good of the people of Rivers State. So as much as possible, we're trying to ensure that we calm the nerves and coast towards a resolution. So does this really change anything? Does it mean they're still members of the Rivers State House of Assembly? Exactly, speak to us clearly on that. Does that change anything materially?
Now, before yesterday...
Is that a yes or a no? Does it change anything materially, Mr. Worry?
I think it does. It does, because after the interlocutory order by T.N. Wale, which is subject of an appeal, the Amewule and co., the River State House of Assembly, have not sat to make laws for the good governance of River State. But with the judgment of yesterday, the course is clear for them to continue as always to make laws for the state. So that is where we are.
Mr. Worry, it's a bit concerning as to how politics and jurisprudence are having some kind of interplay, and it's a bit confusing for some of us who are laymen. So one is wondering, at the heat of this very feud between all of the parties, as far as this is concerned, when the Amewule-led group were really fighting hard to make sure that nobody declares their seat vacant at the Federal High Court, they went to Abuja. Nobody incapacitates them to do their work as lawmakers for the fact that they have defected. What did they present to the court as evidence that they've moved to another party? Or they never presented that, or it was just verbal statement that was admissible and justiciable? What exactly did they present? I want to think that if I come to a judge and I said, they want to declare my seat vacant because I left this party to this party, I would expect that the justice system would demand that I show that I've moved from party A to party B. Help me out here.
Now, when we were about to start, you had said that, look, we have seen on television, where Amewule and co had declared. I also saw when this, I think it was on the 11th of December, yes, 2023. December 2023. They said that, look, we are leaving the APC to the PDP to these are factual now. I'm not talking law, I'm talking facts. On account of the fact that there is division in the PDP, they even cited, because I saw them showing a court process, to say, look, there is a contest between the national, as to who is the national secretary. And of course, you know that the secretary of any organization is, so to speak, the live wire. And that's what was happening at the time made it impracticable, impossible for the party to function very well. Those were their claims. Now, those issues have not been determined, like you rightly pointed. Those are subject of litigation. But I know that Justice Donatis Okorowo of the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja Division have made a restraining order to the effect that nobody in whatever guise should stop them or disturb the Rivers State House of Assembly led by Amemli from performing its function. That is the state up until even in the face of that pending order that Honorable Justice C.N. Wiley of the Rivers State High Court gave a restraining order stopping them from performing their legitimate and constitutional duties of making laws for the good governance of Rivers State.
You know, sir, the intendment of this ruling that you just cited, which is not stopping the Martin Amewule-led State Assembly from performing its function, is the exact reason I asked earlier what the interest of the PDP would be in being joined in the suit. And you say that the PDP does not want to lose their members, but the leader of the party in the state is the governor. And if we refer yet again to the events leading us here, where the governor perceived the State Assembly to be working against its interests. So the question would be, if the PDP doesn't want to lose these members, isn't it yet another contradiction? And what would be the future of Rivers politics going forward? Do you see the governor obeying this court order by not interfering in the activities of legislation of the Martin Amewule-led State Assembly?
Well, I see the governor obeying the orders of courts. I say so because the office of the governor is a creation of the law. That's number one. Number two, his election was validated by the courts. So if those the petitioners in the election petition, after the judgment, had obeyed the court order, I do not see any reason why the governor, whose office is a creation of the law, would not obey the judgment of a court. I do not see any reason why. But if he does so, of course, I don't know how to put it, but I don't see him not obeying the judgment of the court. I do not see him.
You know, I do hope that at the end of all of this, if we ever get to the end, I think that's a desire, everybody would all look back at the role that they played across board, and maybe there'll be some truth-telling and say, did I really do things right or not? Was I on the side of, the law or against it? Speaking of that, so there's freedom of association, right? And I'd like you to speak to this as a lawyer as well. So I say that I do not want to belong to your association anymore. Freedom of association. So I've said I do not want to belong to it. So isn't that violating my own fundamental right if you were to tell me that you have to be a part of that association? In fact, let's put this in context. Let's go back to December the 11th and listen to Mr. Martin Amewule announcing the defection. Then we'll come back to speak to that question.
Of this 10th Assembly, distinguished colleagues, these letters are personally written by the 27 members individually and sent to me in line with Section 101 of the 1999 Constitution as authored. Distinguished colleagues, I will begin by reading the letter written by the Right Honorable Barrister Dundee Mao, the Deputy Speaker of this House. It reads, the Right Honorable Martin Chika Amewule, DSSRS, Speaker, Rivers State Assembly, Moscow, Port, Mr. Speaker, defection to the All Progressive Congress, APC. I write to bring to your attention my decision to leave the People's Democratic Party, PDP. This decision to leave the PDP is necessitated by the division in the People's Democratic Party, of which I was elected to this House. In particular, the tussle around who the National Secretary of the PDP is.
So those were the reasons adduced, and Jeffrey had referenced that. So speak to that. Isn't that a violation of his fundamental rights to freedom of association by saying, no, you must be in that association?
I think otherwise. First, Martin Samewule and co have the right to say, I want to associate with anybody, any group, any association or organization, such as the All Progressives Congress. The PDP is not saying that they do not have such rights. What the PDP is saying, that they have not followed the formality to express their right of freedom of association. PDP has said, by our record, we do not have any record showing that Martins and co have led. Invariably, what they are saying is that Martins and co did not communicate any letter to that effect. They don't have such record. It's not to say.
Mr. Worry, just if I heard him clearly, because we've been following this thing from the word go.
Yes.
So we understand, you understand the law, but we are following the politics here. He clearly stated that letters were written to him by all of the members, which is the premise on which he's reading the position of all of the members. I'm curious because the senior advocate of Nigeria, who is the Attorney General of the state, is now saying we have evidence. What we saw just now, which we played back, which we just played, which was from December 11, is this admissible in court?
Obviously, but that's not the point. I think you have missed the point.
Okay, let's get the point then.
Because I listened to Amewule, the Honorable Amewule said the letters addressed to him and not to PDP, because he raised the issue of freedom of association. And I said the PDP is not saying that they do not have a right to move or to go to any other party. After all, the Constitution is clear, Section 109 of the 1999 Constitution is clear on that. But they are saying that, look, there are procedures, there are formalities. By the record of PDP, not the record of Martins Amewule, PDP, on whose platform they were elected, we don't have such evidence. That's what the PDP says.
Mr. Worry, it's amazing how politicians try to play around the fine lines of the law. It's just amazing to see. It took us 6 months to realize in the books that people who defected haven't defected. Help us make sense of that situation as we close.
There's this aphorism, what is what doing is what doing well. Maybe they had intended, as expressed on the video that you just played, to go to, cross over to the All Progressive Congress. But the question is, have they done it in line? Was it done properly? Of course, the PDP has been quick to supply the answer to that question, to say, no, by our record, we did not have any such letter suggesting or to the effect that Amewule and co, who are our member, who still retains our membership card, have not left us. No wonder Honorable Justice Okobile Basan was speak. And I had said earlier, I agree with him. Why did the plaintiff not present register of members of the All Progressive Congress or membership card,
right,
where you will find the name of Amewule and co? So that is the point. Nobody is saying that anybody should not defect. But when you are going to do it fairly so well.
Okay, maybe this is opening a new jurisprudence, but as I said, at the end of the day...
the law grows every day. The law is and it grows every day.
Mr. Warren, we say that when we want to say it, and then another time we say, well, it's been said.
In those earlier cases that...
I understand, Mr. Warren, absolutely. Absolutely.
The facts, no, the parties, the political parties never came to say, look, these people are still our members.
Okay.
So that's the difference with the earlier cases that we used to.
Well, Mr. Warren, we would like to thank you so much. By the way, it's important to also get the other side of this. We had reached out, and hopefully in the coming days we'll hear from the governor's side and the state government side as well as to their interpretation. But I'd like to thank you so much for your insights on this one. Very interesting times we're in, but more importantly, we wish the people of Rivers State the very best. Mr. Warwari, legal practitioner, thank you for your time on the program.
A pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
So we'll get that other side to the conversation as soon as they're ready. But we'll take a moment now, and when we return, we'll turn our attention to a very interesting angle of a conversation. It concerns surrogacy, the laws behind it, or the laws that are not behind it, and as to how to walk around this murky waters, it will seem. So that's something you don't want to miss. Stay with us.